KellyHigdon.com, my
The
favorite
John
person.
Clarke. It's the John Clarke.
Darn tootin'. So do you remember when I offended you on Facebook and then we met in person and became best friends?
Mm-hmm.
Just like to remember our roots, I like to, people say don't forget where you came from, and so I apply that to my friendship with Kelly Higdon.
And you continue to offend me. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I do, because I have feelings about California and I obviously haven't worked through them. I get hashtag triggered, and I try to use my relationship with you to resolve them.
Oh, okay.
That's why I like, whenever we're talking, I'm like, I need you to sell me on California. Tell me.
Though I was raised in Texas,
I know.
yeah.
But you acclimated to California well. Like I wouldn't be surprised if you were from California, because I don't know, you make it look easy.
Oh, well, thanks.
But maybe that's wrong. I don't know.
It's been fine. I think I don't know. We've talked about this before. It's what you make of it and the effort you put in. And I believe your people are out there.
Yeah. Yeah, well, one of the many reasons why we're friends is because I think you understand community and you have that value.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I struggle without community, or like the second I get somewhere new, I'm like instantly have to look for it, try to create it. And it usually happens in the form of activities, whether it's like music or martial arts or volunteering or something. But,
Mm-hmm.
you are one of those people that really understands the need for community and how to build it. And you and I were texting the other day that you have to work for it.
It does take time and effort. I think it's why I love what I do in my work. And over the past few years, kind of playing around with different ways of working and discovering, oh, I really like to be in person. And I know there's this big glorification of the nomadic lifestyle. And it works to a degree to be online. It really does. And even doing therapy online, it works. And I love being in a room with people.
Can you say more about how you make sense of that in your life right now, and also how you incorporate, all of your experiences, and all of your in-person experiences, all of your online experiences? How do you make sense of it all right now in your life?
Make sense of what I'm discovering that I love.
Yeah, and this balance between people who want location independence, or people who are attracted to doing online work, but also as therapists, we crave connection, and we like the in-person stuff, right? So, yeah. So you're saying it's important for you to have both, right?
It is, and I think that I haven't totally figured out what the balance of that is.
Mm-hmm.
The preparation for in-person, like when we do our like in-person retreats, is intense. I have a certain level of expectation of, it's a way I show love to my clients. It is a love language for me to host people and to care for them. The time with them is energizing, and then afterwards I need a little like breather to catch up.
Yeah.
But then I find that our work virtually is even more depth oriented after having some in-person experiences together, whether that's kayaking in a lagoon or sitting in a hot seat, mastermind kind of session, or doing vision boards together or whatever. I think there's just something about knowing people in a physical space. And actually this morning I'm sitting here doing my what's next list. You'd be very proud of me, because John Clarke knows how, I always refer to him as John Clarke, knows how I'm trying to figure out what that's going to look like now. With my husband being laid off, we have a lot more freedom, but we also have a child who we want to have a good community. And so it's not just me. It's
Yeah.
not just about me and the life I want. It's also about my family and my friendships and things like that. So anyway, I was doing my list right here about like the different ways to serve. What am I finding energetically that is helpful and life-giving, and what do I find that's draining me that I'm like, I wish I hadn't done this, if, so I can change it the next round.
Can you break those down a little bit? Or like when you're walking yourself through this exercise, what are the prompts that you use?
Yeah, exactly that. What is pissing me off and irritating me right now? I really do. And like, where do I feel most depleted? Where does it feel like I'm like, like it's actually like a checking in of the physical sensation. I'm an anxious person, so usually it manifests in breathing and stomach and all that stuff. So just paying attention to that. What things do I want to do but get put off is another thing I look at too, and what's getting in the way of that. So it's a lot of introspection kind of stuff. And then what is really exciting to me, what do I find myself, for example, I'm sitting here like this morning doing some personal financial stuff, and then I keep finding myself going to Marco Polo, which I use for my clients to see how they're doing. I'm like, okay, I really prefer.
Yeah, I like connecting with my people.
Yeah, I don't like doing this financial bit, which is not new news to me.
Well, and you and Miranda do a ton of work to help therapists with that part too, and like coming to grips with the financial pieces of their business. And but I like that you're realistic about it, right? It's not that it has to become your favorite part of your business.
No.
But well, and with that being said, how do you kind of make sense of, on one hand, there's a lot of movement toward like, creating a perfect job or an ideal job and an ideal life with your ideal clients. And yet maybe we go too far with that, because there's a lot of things in any business that you're not going to like doing. Right. So what do you, what do you make of that?
Have we talked about this? Like the whole thing about like, what can you eliminate, prioritize, delegate, and automate?
No, let's talk about that.
So there is stuff, that you have to do that you don't want to do in life. That's adulting. And, I don't love, let's think of some things I don't like to do. I don't like sitting and looking at the budget. I don't really enjoy cooking dinner. And I don't really enjoy like some things that come with parenting, like dealing with the school or things like that. But there are things that only I can do.
Right. That's a clear line, right? And I think a lot of business building is figuring out where that line is.
Well, that's the question of, am I the only one that can do this, or is there someone that can help me? Yeah. So, for example, I have someone that picks up Claire and brings her home. I have a housekeeper that comes to help me. I still clean in between because, hello, cats. Big, fluffy cats.
Yeah. I know that lifestyle.
I am in the cat hair battle over here. But I delegate what I can. And then the stuff that only I can do, I prioritize. So I come up with systems so I get them done. And then other tasks, I'm like, do I really even need to do this? Is this really all that important? And then I automate what I can. My bills are automated. My social media is pretty automated. All those things, whatever software I can use, I try to pick where I get the most bang for my buck. So just looking at the tasks and the stuff in your business and seeing like what only I can do. This is life and business. Mm-hmm. Who else can help me? Is there something that can automate this, or does it just need to go away?
Your ability to ask yourself those questions over and over and over again has a lot to do with your ability to kind of move the needle forward, in business and life, right? And I think this is where a lot of therapists maybe get stuck. Perhaps trying to do too much themselves, or having a hard time asking, what is it that I can let go, or that I'm struggling to let go of?
But why do you think that is?
I think it's because a couple reasons. Number one, we have superhero syndrome, which is that no one can do everything as well as I can do it. I think that's one barrier.
She fits.
I think we have anxiety about giving up control, whatever that means. So when you're automating something or delegating something or hiring it out. And I think therapists have tremendous blocks around spending money. I think a problem is that therapists don't have budgets that they're operating from. And so anytime you spend $1 from your business, therapists tend to feel like it's coming directly out of their pocket.
I think therapists have a lot. I'm not going to say therapists. I think people, because every kind of business owner I've worked with, people have a lot of shame and they don't want to be vulnerable.
Right.
It's hard to trust people to help them. It's hard to know what will work and won't. That I want to know this is going to work. Well, so do I. I would love a freaking crystal ball right now. It doesn't work that way. So I think that there's this, you get help with your finances. I'll just speak to that. Like my financial person sees what's in my accounts and sees where the money went. And there's like a sense of vulnerability and we're afraid of being judged.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then I think also that's why we end up sometimes spending money to avoid that. Like we will spend money on the wrong things for ourselves because we're trying to avoid feeling vulnerable, and we'll just, I don't know. But I see a lot of shame and stuff come up for people.
Well, and we could spend a whole hour on this, but I think having someone who has a hand in your finances is a big step for a lot of business owners and a lot of private practitioners, solo practitioners, etc. There is a vulnerability in it, and there's also potentially a relief if there's someone that you really trust and can work with, and can voice your anxieties with. I can say, and I've told you a couple of times that my she's really like my bookkeeper, but really like my money coach, who does all the money in my businesses, all the payroll, etc. And we talk a lot about my personal finances because they have to be part of the conversation. But she has become like my therapist, like my mentor, like my this and that, because I realized a lot of my stuff comes back to money, and a lot of my anxiety comes down to money, and it bleeds over into whatever you're doing, whether it's like pricing a product and how much can I charge for this without feeling bad, or when it comes to your people or your team, and having someone like her going, does this really work for you? Does this, does this setup work for you? Or what this person is asking, does this work for you? And me going, no, but I'm just, trying to be a good guy. That's been transformational for me, in terms of her giving me permission to make decisions for myself and making decisions based on the numbers, right? And there's got to be a balance. And I think the fear for a lot of therapists might be that some finance people might not have that balance, right? Or they might just be overly numbers driven, and not understand that we are also highly relational people. I don't know, I'm going on and on, but the short of it is that like having someone involved in my finances helped a lot. And I do think twice when I'm spending money on my business, in terms of like, okay, next time I sit down with Lynn, we're going to have to talk about this, right? Or if I'm like, and I've called you in these moments, if I'm looking at a training or a something, or for me, it's Tony Robbins. That's like my kryptonite. Every time I see like a Facebook ad, which is, it's like a $10,000 for like 30 minutes with Tony Robbins. I'm like, Kelly, I think I'm going to do this. I need you to talk me out of it.
Let me save you $10,000.
But now I have that person where like, if I did that, and Lynn would be like, okay. So, how's that working for you?
The Dr. Phil question.
Yeah.
But see, what I think happens is that people would rather do the automation piece. They rely heavily on that because the software doesn't make them feel vulnerable.
Correct.
And, but automation just frees you up to do the vulnerable work and to focus on the stuff that makes you squirm in your chair. Because and I can't even remember what we talked about the last time we got together, but that whole
Lord
concept
knows.
of how your business is a mirror, and it's,
Yeah.
I think, your largest self-development course. So,
And I use that, and I quote you. I usually quote you in the form of a hashtag whenever I use it. If I'm in like a coaching session. Because I think it's huge, and I think until we get that part, we're gonna keep taking our business almost too personally in a way.
hmm
And so,
you and I know nothing about that.
yeah, exactly. The slightest comment, right? So, and actually, I can use an example this morning from a coaching client who had this form on his website that just said, "Hey, if you have feedback about my website, send it here."
hmm
And of course, someone and someone made this feedback, and I don't think he'd mind me sharing this, but someone, he's gotten only one piece of feedback. So I told him, first of all, this is a sample size of one. But in the sample size of one, the person said, "Hey, dude, your fees are too high and your jokes are bad. Your jokes on your website are bad." And that was devastating because it
hmm
was like, whoa, does everyone think that? Does everyone think my fees are too high? Maybe I should bring my fees down. Maybe I shouldn't, say funny
Yeah.
things that I think are funny on my website. And so we
Yeah.
had to talk through that, right? Because of course you're going to respond to that person. You're going to take it to heart. And
Yeah.
in reality, it's just some passerby like saw a form where they can be like, "Oh yeah, I can say something mean and unhelpful, so I'm going to say that."
Yeah. And then it's also, wait, I didn't really want feedback.
Yeah, I know.
It should say, if you have something nice and a compliment to
I
give
know.
me, please fill out this
I
form.
know. And I'm trying to learn this from you more and more, but because you told me like when you guys go through rounds of boot camp,
Yeah.
you make that obvious. You're like, we don't work with mean people. Like Zynnyme doesn't work with mean people. Or what? How do you say it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're going to be mean and, uh, tear other people down, we don't really, there's not any room for that. I mean, we're too giggly and silly anyway. Most people either love that or hate it, I guess.
And I'm perplexed by people who like say mean things about that in particular.
Mm.
Like you smile too much or something. And I don't know. I just
Oh,
think,
yeah. Well, but
yeah.
I mean, we could open up that door and uh, just even as a woman, the comments
Well,
I
that's what
get
I was gonna
about,
say. There's that part
yeah,
too. I don't think many people would reach out to me and go, "Sir, you smile too much."
no.
No.
And they probably wouldn't comment like on like your site is too feminine.
Mm-mm.
I'm like, there's pink and blue. That's too feminine?
Right.
Like there's colors. Since when are we going to gender color? Well, our whole society does, but yeah, I face, I'm sure we all face different kinds of criticisms based on gender and ethnicity and color and language and all those things and immigration status and all of it.
Do you think your ability to let those things roll off your back has gotten better over the years?
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have some like safeguards in place in my processes. And I try to get really clear about whose opinion matters to me. And I have started, and I actually I started doing some brain spotting with this around,
Can you tell people what that is?
yeah. I'm probably going to say this wrong because I'm a client, not the therapist doing the brain spotting. Some people call it the second generation of EMDR, but using, eye position, to heal parts of the brain where trauma is trapped, I guess to say. I feel so silly talking about this because I'm going to do it a disservice. But
Well, it's hard to explain because you're
I
taking
know.
something as complex as the brain and developing, a pretty concrete intervention for it to help remove blocks and
Right. And coming from therapies that aren't as concrete, it's been kind of an interesting journey. But I think part of it was trying to figure out how to say thank you for the feedback and be able to detach, consider, say like, is this of value? Is this something? Because I do make mistakes. Like, for example, we had a webinar and we looked back and we noticed that there was not diversity on the panel. And I was like, uh-oh, actually, a lot of what I've done, there isn't diversity.
Mm-hmm.
And some people gave some feedback about that, and they were right. So I think I'm doing better at discerning what to take in and how I take it in. And it's not so much as personal, I guess, but I still have my moments, especially whenever you do something new, we revert to our old ways.
And we want to know that what we're doing is on target, that it's helpful to people, that it's translating well. And we're not always going to hit the mark. And I think about this a lot, right? Because on one hand, when I did nothing but therapy in private practice for 20 hours a week, 20 clients a week, I didn't really fear negative feedback because those people are sitting face to face to me. And I know there's a power dynamic between therapist and client. And sure, if for some reason the client wasn't happy with how things are going, or I screwed up, which happened as a therapist.
What?
We could handle it right then and there, or I could read the reactions, or, you know what I'm saying? Like if someone really wanted to talk shit to me, they have an hour a week to do it in person.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it happened a couple of times where someone was like, hey, I'm coming to this therapy and I'm paying you a lot of money, quote unquote, and I'm not getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's going on? And we could talk about that, right? But it always felt more, it felt like we could usually wrap it up, or we could at least, I didn't feel like I was quite as exposed, so to speak, to as compared to where I am now, where, yeah, potentially anyone could slide some sort of comment or direct message on Instagram or Facebook or wherever and could get your attention and go, well, this is ridiculous. They can offend you. They can be mean. They can give feedback when I've never even worked with this person. Like, you've never hired me, and now you're giving me feedback. So it's like, I don't know. Working online, in a way, it just kind of exposes you, and I do struggle with that.
Mm-hmm. I hear you.
Yeah.
It gets better. It does. I
appreciate that.
Also, as your community. Your communities, when people really know you, I think a lot of the times, I'm hoping, at least the feedback has been so far, that the clients that work with me, especially one-on-one, they know my heart. They know I'm not perfect. And they also feel a little bit protective too. I feel protected of them. When you know someone at a different level, then sometimes your community will take care of those kinds of things for you. And I think too, yeah, what really matters to you gets clearer and clearer on this journey. And I am not everyone's cup of tea. And I wish I was, but do I really wish I was? Probably not. Be kind of boring.
One of the most helpful things you've ever said to me when, I've been in these periods of not knowing, or what do I want to be known for, and you always kind of say the same thing. It's like, people will know you for your heart, and I guess that's the other disappointing part, when someone says something mean and they don't know you at all, and it's like, what if we just talked? What if we we spent an hour together, or you met me in person? Would you say that to my face in person, like having never met me? So I struggle because I think the internet provides that anonymity. It's bullying, I guess. I'm talking about bullying in a way. And it's the same thing that, like, whether you're a teenager or, in my case, an adult running an online business, like, the internet provides the opportunity to connect with an incredible amount of people, and that's very positive. And it also, creates opportunities for people to be mean.
I would also say, though, when you bring up the teenager thing, if you think about people and their development, though, when you are feeling more adult in those spaces, there's parts of you that are, we'll do a little parts work, that are more in an adult parental role. You're able to kind of see the teenager stuff and stand up for yourself in a different way, and I think that's why business owners also sometimes don't want to put themselves out there. I have some clients who, they fear of being judged for what they look like, what they sound like, and all of that. And those are very real things that they already face in the
Oh, for
in the
sure.
face-to-face world, in the flesh and blood world, let alone in the digital. So I think it's a common thing.
That was eye opening to me at some point. I was working with someone and looking at their website and just said, "Hey, I think it'd be great if you had your photo on the website. Like, I feel like that's really missing." And their response was kind of like, "Actually, no, that's very intentional. I'm not comfortable having my photo. Like, here are some reasons why." And in my like fast pace, always like thinking about conversions and calls to action and like optimization, it was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I should listen to that, right? Because there's clearly a reason. And it just so happened that this person was already doing great. Like, they were already really
Right.
successful. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's the other thing of there's many ways to do this process. I was talking to my cousin this morning and I was like, what would it be like to have a business that's completely offline, like an off the grid? I'm trying to fathom it, like a farmer. But I mean,
yeah, pretty much. It's pretty much your only option if you want to be truly off the grid.
yeah, and I think there's many ways to do it. I think that's probably too what you're trying to convey as you do more of the messaging and branding stuff is, yeah, there's lots of ways to brand, there's lots of ways to message, and it's just offering another perspective on that that's a little bit more integrative of who the person is.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes it comes across and sometimes it doesn't. It's just like any form of communication.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes it falls flat. I think a lot of what we're talking about today is transference. Honestly, if we can step back from a lot of the conflict we have with people, whether it is your partner or your friend or someone you've never met who's like saying mean things about your blog post, I think it's usually transference. I think there's usually something insecure in them that is being elicited by seeing you or what you're doing.
Right, but the fact that you're bothered by it is also an insecurity in
Well,
you.
it's also transference, yeah.
Yeah,
Getting hashtag triggered by it.
yeah, hashtag triggered. I think there's something, but like I said, there are some times where we are wrong and we do need to listen and we do need to learn and we need to be less quick to solve, rescue, and help before we fully hear the other side. And again, I'd rather help my clients than worry about someone, in their posts on my Facebook page or whatever. But
yeah. And I guess it's a matter of developing that filter, right? Of knowing, like you said, who you trust, who you really want to listen to, and when maybe you do need to hear some feedback or some feedback that you don't like, because certainly that's life as well.
Oh, well, I think for me, for example, I am pretty critical of myself. And one of the ways I feel like I have succeeded is by being super critical and like jumping ahead of everybody's like, I already know what my issue, I already know what my issues
are.
No,
for sure.
But I still have blind spots and we still need each other. So this idea of community is that community exists not only to support and encourage, but it exists to reflect and to hashtag trigger, bring out some of those rougher edges that need smoothing.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of power in that. It's kind of like owning it before it can own you, or owning it before someone can call you out on it.
Right. Well, it's just a protection, and it actually just causes me more stress probably than anything.
It's kind of like when I was younger, I had kind of a profound fear of haircuts because my mom used to take me to JCPenney and the women would be like talking and eating like a foot-long sandwich while they're cutting my hair and like probably smoking a cigarette indoors or something weird. And I would leave with the most horrendous haircuts ever. And it'd be like a bowl cut, but like slanted, but not in like a cool way, not like a purposeful slant. And I'd feel so mortified. And like, if I could just go back, I could just roll up to school and own it, just be like, what's up guys? Yeah, I got a slanted haircut. So what? Before someone could be like, what happened? I know it's a weird example, but now I like getting haircuts. I really look forward to it. And I've relinquished my anxiety. I've had some corrective emotional experiences with hairdressers. Thank goodness. And probably because I just stopped going to JCPenney. Let's go like a hipster barber shop. Spend like an insane amount of money on a haircut that looks the same as like sports cuts. Anyway.
But it makes you feel better.
It makes me, yeah, it's about the internal transformation of the that the haircut provides. We've covered a lot of ground today, and as we wrap up and move away from haircuts, we talked about haircuts last time you were on the show.
What?
And how you just blindly trust your hairdresser, and I was like, that's incredible. Mm-hmm. And you're like, yeah, it's their job.
It's
Hashtag outsourcing.
Outsource. That's a delegation.
Yeah, you just.
As I caught my daughter this morning in the bathroom with scissors, and I said,
really?
"I love you, and you can try that." And I've done it many times, and it's not worked out for me, but might be something you want to trust to somebody else. Right before
it's a brave kid.
I saw the scissors. Yeah. I saw the scissors like at the nice angle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She was probably on her way to looking like me as a young child.
It's all right. She could rock it.
That's hilarious. So we've covered a lot of ground, and we've talked about, we started this talk about how you kind of do some of this visioning and asking the hard questions to yourself, which in my opinion is kind of like coaching yourself in a way, right? It's like taking questions that you'd probably ask a coaching client and sitting down with a piece of paper. I also love how it's on a piece of paper. I think that's
You
cool.
love that it's on paper?
Yeah, I just think, I don't know. I think it's good for our brain to get off the computer sometimes, especially when you're trying to do.
There's a definite like connection between handwriting and the brain. Like, yeah.
There you go. But so we talked a lot about the importance of doing that, right? Kind of like becoming your own coach in a way, becoming your own guide in a way. What else is missing from that, or what else, did you want to say around that, or for people looking for what's one thing I can do as a result of hearing hashtag Kelly Higdon talk on the show today? Where do you think people could start?
Cut out the noise.
Cut out the noise.
Did we talk about this last time? I should have listened to what we talked about last time.
Well, people can hear it twice because they're probably still not getting it.
I had one of my clients recently turn off all social media, block her news feed. Like, I think the only way you're going to hear yourself is if you quiet all the inputs.
Well, even if it's just temporary, right? It's like you don't have to quit forever, but cut the noise for some time so you can think.
Mm-hmm. I think that's how, people end up copying and all these other things sometimes, is because they're so involved in what other people are doing that they're not tapping into what they need to be doing.
So cut the noise. What do you do after that?
Well, then it's making time for just you to work on your life, to work on your business, not in it.
It's hard to do. It's anxiety provoking, right? We don't want to.
It's hard to admit. It's hard to admit something's not working.
Correct.
It's hard to admit, especially when it makes you money. Oh, that's always fun. Like, hey, this makes me money and I hate it. But again, it speaks to your values. Yeah. Another conversation with Claire in the car this morning. She was talking about money, and I was like, I'd rather have my family close to me than all the money in the world. Like, money isn't everything. So, of course, I know I say that as the situation I'm in. It's much easier than someone who's living paycheck to paycheck, if they even have a paycheck,
Sure.
So, but.
Yeah. But part of it is defining your values, or that's a value, right? And going, being your family is more important than money. I'm kind of drawing that line in the sand for myself, and then I'm going to try to operate from that value.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, the other aspect is once you get clear on something, share it with someone that matters.
That's huge. I'm going to quote that somewhere. Probably in the form of a.
I'm sure you said it to me too. Whatever.
I doubt that.
Really? I mean, like, I don't know. I try to be quite honest with you about, like, oh, I'm thinking about doing this, but this is what I think might be the issues, or I can't do that, or whatever. I think it's important to have people.
Well, and that's kind of what you do as a leader, is you step out and you say, hey, everyone, this is what I've learned. I just
Yeah.
learned it, like I just learned it yesterday in some cases, and now I'm sharing it, right? And if that
Yeah.
benefits you, great. It's kind of like when I think about like teachers or even like a high school teacher, I talk to my good friend Ed, and he's usually lesson planning like the night before. And I'm always like, man, when I was growing up, I thought teachers just knew everything. Like they knew the dates and this and the algorithms and the formulas for whatever, for algebra. And it's like as a teacher, he's just staying half a step ahead of his students in a way. But it's
That's
enough
therapy
to
too.
go, yeah, it's therapy too, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So cut out the noise, turn on your internal wisdom, make
Yeah,
time for yourself to actually think about it, and then have people who you trust to help you through it,
yeah,
whatever that decision is.
that's huge. The infinitely wisdom Kelly Higdon on the show. I'm gonna cut
You're
out
so
that. I'm
funny.
gonna cut out that laughter in the edits.
No, you're
It's
not.
just gonna
Do
end.
not.
It's just gonna mic drop right there.
Oh my gosh, please no.
Everyone will be like, I guess she agreed. I guess
I did not.
maybe she told him to say that. Maybe that's how she wanted to be
Uh,
introduced. Or
I did not agree.
no, but
Okay, I will try to receive.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you sit
Thank you,
there and
John.
receive. But I really
Thank
do
you.
appreciate you and our friendship and you
Thank
coming
you.
on the show. How can people get in touch with you? What do you have going on right now that you want to tell people about? And we can always include links in the show notes because we do have
Yeah.
that technology.
Doing a cool series over in Zynnyme on when life happens. It's just a series of interviews with people who've been through life.
Cool.
Might connect with some people. And then on my own site, I have some worksheets to help people kind of plan some of this stuff. They're free. You can download them
I
if you
love it.
want to check them out.
What's your
Yeah,
website?
kellyhigdon.com.
That's right.
And then there's zynnyme.com.
Love it.
Pretty easy, John Clarke.
Love it. Also follow, and not to overload you with calls to action, because the rule of thumb is to give one call of action in the world of marketing. But here's a third, which is follow Kelly on Instagram. I know
Oh,
I know you don't make all your money on Instagram, but I love your posts. I've referred clients. I've referred like a therapy client or two to follow you on Instagram because you say some real stuff. Like you really do. You really think about it, and it's not just fluff. And I think that's needed, and especially in social media, especially in an Instagram feed. Like you really sit down and make it count. So follow Kelly Higdon, Kelly Higdon Coaching
Kelly Higdon Coaching. Yeah.
on Instagram. Get with it.
Thank you. Thank you for your love and support.
See you next time.